This video takes a look at diversification, over-diversification, and also refocusing. There's two major reasons why a firm would consider diversification in the first place. And the first one is simply that of product diversification, where a firm can take a core product and diversify in either to a related or unrelated area. And the other major way to diversify is simply by geographical diversification. Now, why would a firm consider diversification in the first place? Well, there's three major reasons we'll discuss here. The first one, diversifying away from one product or one market reduces your risk of keeping all of your eggs in one basket, right? Think about Netflix here. Netflix was founded in 1998 as a DVD rental company. They began diversifying into streaming video in 2007. They expanded into original content in 2012. And by 2018, they had diversified into 190 countries. Think about what might have happened to Netflix if they stayed in DVD rentals. A second major reason for diversification is to grow. And Netflix's explosive growth was and is due to the diversification away from DVD rentals. The third major reason for diversification is to escape a seemingly unattractive market, or perhaps to find a more attractive market. And indeed, Netflix diversified beyond the what would become unattractive DVD rental area into more lucrative businesses. Recall that managing diversification is based on portfolio theory, where you're just looking at uncorrelated stocks and how many you hold, and also the average return of that portfolio. The theory says that as you diversify into greater numbers of uncorrelated stocks, your average return is going to increase up to some point and then level off, and that is because of the reduction of risk. Now, managing diversification in a company is a little bit different, because here we look on the x-axis at number of business segments or level of diversification instead of stocks. And there's a different relationship here than that which you saw in portfolio theory. As level of diversification increases, profitability will increase to a point, as you can see on this inverted U graph here. This is the optimal level of diversification in the middle of the graph, where the profitability is at its highest. But at some level, as you further diversify, theoretically, your profitability is going to suffer. It's interesting for us to know why this might be. So we are now going to look at this diminishing returns part of the curve. Now, why is it that at some point, as you continue to diversify past an optimal point, profitability is going to begin to suffer? Well, there's two reasons for diminishing returns, general reasons. First and foremost, you think when you diversify, you're diversifying away from some core business. It could be successful. In general, as diversification increases, you're going to dilute what we call your dominant logic, and I'm going to define that on the next slide. The second reason that over-diversification can lead to diminishing returns is that you have an increase in control costs, and control costs are just simply information technology to track multiple businesses. It's knowing what the right hand is doing to the left. If you think about a single business firm and all the information they're trying to track and manage, that's one thing. As you get into a huge conglomerate, your information technology needs and your costs and your focus are going to go into a number of different directions. So let's get on more with the dominant logic part of this. And dominant logic, it could be a positive thing. It occurs when the management sees some commonalities among products that they sell. Now, commonalities could include, products. If you diversify into another item, they could share marketing schemes, which would be efficient possibly. More than one product or division or geographical units could share distribution channels, which could have synergies. The same is true with manufacturing among multiple products or multiple markets in a portfolio. In general, products that work together to enhance a company's portfolio, if you have dominant logic and can apply these, it can be beneficial. Over-diversification applies when you diversify so far that you dilute your dominant logic. You get away from your core and you lose focus. You lose those commonalities or synergies that you would have when you had that logic. So in other words, the big picture, really becomes kind of blurry. So what's the remedy? And I think it's kind of obvious, right? You refocus the company. And refocusing is a term that applies to or refers to contraction through business segment divestitures. Now, what kind of businesses do you want to prune from an over-diversified portfolio? Well, the first one is pretty easy, right? You want to get rid of the segment that doesn't make as much money or is losing money. Moreover, you'd want to take a look at divesting business segments that just simply dilute dominant logic, that blurry your focus on the core products or can't share synergies among marketing, distribution, etc. with the others. You can take a look at those items that just don't fit that which you're doing. Oftentimes, the mantra in strategic management is just simply stick to what you know best, and that's your core business. That applies in many cases, but not all. For an application, let's finish by taking a look at Sara Lee. Sara Lee was a company that was founded in 1939 and was operated largely at the time as a bakery and grocery wholesaler. The company began to diversify into unrelated items in the 1980s and 1990s, and in late 1998 they found themselves with a really poor performing company, and their depressed stock price drew the ire of its shareholders for obvious reasons. This graphic here shows how far behind they were in terms of change in stock price with other food companies. They did, however, go through an effective refocusing program that lasted about 12 years, and I'll detail that right now. Before I do, Sara Lee's diversification through 1998 looked kind of something like this. As you know, they really a bakery company, right, with foodstuffs. They diversified into coffees and teas. They eventually got into personal products. They bought or acquired Hanes underwear. They acquired not only Coach but also Mark Cross leathers, and they even got into tobacco products. And over time, as this diversification went on, what happened is that there was a positive relationship between diversification and profitability, but over time that relationship turned into diminishing returns because it was believed they diversified just too far. So what do? We go back to the refocusing mantra, right? Refocusing our divestitures to try to bring a company back to what they do best. And how did that work? Well, Sara Lee first divested its tobacco division in 1998. It was the first unit to go. You'll notice a little bit of improvement after that divestiture. The next divestiture was that of leathers, and that was Coach, right? Coach was sold off, and it was believed their performance improved a little bit more. The next divestiture in 2006 was Hanes. Again, retracting back to the core, improving performance. In 2010, the personal products went away. And then in 2011, they just got rid of coffee. And what happens is Sara Lee ended up back to what it did at the very beginning and did very, very well. And most business analysts believed that this refocusing was very, very effective because it refocused Sara Lee back to market segments that it really excelled in. Well, so you're asking yourself, maybe was this refocusing effective, at least through 2012? And yeah, it really was. Their stock price subsequently hit a new 52-week high, and the investors were much happier with the direction the company was taking. Hey, as a quick epilogue to the story, the company Sara Lee vanished in 2012 because Sara Lee was split into two companies, one for North American operations, which was renamed as Hillshire Brands, and the other was sold to international business called DE Master Blenders. While the Sara Lee company is gone, the brand lives on.